Good morning. Here we are in Lewiston, and we are clearing some trails, and we're going to do some shooting lanes and widen some trails. So basically just clean up storm damage so I'm just gonna get right to it. Not too much talking in this video. So here we have a shooting lane. It's probably, I cleared about 60 or 80 yards, but you can see almost 100 yards past now. It's kind of hard to tell with the video, but it's right straight in front. And here's the the blind. So we go inside and you can see the lane that I cut. And then there's another lane here in front. It goes downhill a little bit. I run that across. Get a little picture of the tractor for a thumbnail. And so now that we mowed it down there, so you could probably see another 80 yards down the hill here. We're going to go this way and open up a trail and then meet up with another trail that's down there. And then we're going to go to the other side of the property and start working over there. So here we are on the path. We're just going to make a path and we're going to tie it into an existing path that's already there. It's a little too steep for me to try to clear the other path because it's on a hill and it's wet. It's wet out here, so I'll end up sliding down the hill if I try to do it. So we're just going to make a new path. The property owner went through and marked everything with these green flags, so I got a nice little area to go through and everything's marked. I love it. The owner's not too concerned about me leaving some of the larger debris behind because it's just a walking path, and he has a tractor as well, so he said he'd just come through and rake all this up. You know, it's like me, he's retired, so he's got plenty of time to piddle around out here and use his equipment, and he has a tractor and all that. So, you know, us men, we like to use our toys when we can, so. I had a few people ask me about leaving a lot of debris behind sometimes when I'm mulching, and the big problem there is, you know, I'm in a forest, and this terrain over here is very, very wavy and hilly, and there's rocks in here and there's all kinds of debris, and it's hard to tell from the video, but you know, there's up to 12 or 18-inch depressions and hills here, and it's really hard to, you know, get ground material with the cutter head in that kind of a situation. I end up digging into the dirt more than anything, and so when that happens, I dull my blades. You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on there, and so I tend to leave a lot of stuff behind that, you know, if I was in an area that was real flat and the ground was a lot harder, you know, I'd be able to clean up a lot more of it. And that's another thing too here. The ground is so soft that when I get over these logs, when I go over these logs to cut them, they push into the ground. And then we get surfboards. And unless I, you know, get out of the machine and cut them up and stack them and all that, they're pretty much can't get them. And I really don't want to dig into the dirt that much and dull my heads up. So it's a little different here in the forest. If I was in, you know, somewhere else where it was a lot flatter and the ground was a little more, a little harder, not so thick with vegetation, and it'd be a different story. But you know, you can only do what you can do, and I don't mind leaving some of these logs behind. And usually the owners of the property don't mind either. So as long as the actual path is made, the trees are out of the way, it kind of works out in the end. But whenever I do find a good flat spot, I always back drag just to, you know, clean up. that big ass piece of wood off of there. It happens. I tell you what, that little situation that I just had right now with that piece of wood is another testament to why I like my Kubota, because if I would have been in a Bobcat or a Caterpillar or a John Deere or whatever, I kind of would have been stuck there. I would have had to have forced the arm down with that piece of wood stuck in there, because I wouldn't have been able to get the door open. And there's been, in the last 4 months that I've owned this machine, there's been about 3 or 4 situations to where that actually saved me from having to crawl through a back window or something, especially since I'm out here by myself a lot. So it's just another good example why the roll-up door is so nice, you know. I'm going back down the path that I just created. I think I'm about halfway through to where he wanted the path to end. So I'm just gonna go through and just kind of clean up a little bit of the stuff that I can without getting too much into the dirt. Right here is a big hill, a little depression, so it's kind of, there's a lot of stuff that I can't get without getting out of the machine and, you know, moving it around by hand and stuff. So I'm not too worried about it, but every so often I like to turn around and go back the way I came, just to, you know, just to kind of see what I got and what I missed. It's a good habit. Might have missed a stump or something, you know. And there was also a small stump up here by the hunting blind that I wanted to get. I call them toe kickers. It's like a little 2-inch sapling that you know, you cut off, and it's about 3 or 4 inches of it sticking up out of the ground. I call them toe kickers. I actually sprained my ankle one time on one, so you know, if I see it, I might try to get rid of them. It's just a foot hazard that you don't need, really. So I've probably done about 100 yards so far this trail. I think it's about halfway so far, and then there's about four other trails on this property that need clearing as well. So after we do this one, we're gonna hop around and clear out some debris and stuff around a couple other hunting blinds, and just some general maintenance of the property. I've only been out here for a couple hours so far, and I've already completed the majority of the job that they hired me for. So like to, since he has so many acres, you know, it's nice to just get out and, you know, clean up a lot more of the property. Since he's hired me for the whole day, you know. But one thing that I don't do is sandbag, so I'm not gonna slow down and try to, you know, optimize my time. So if I finish early, I finish early. This is kind of how it is, you know. I'm not gonna try to slow it down, and I want them to get as much out of the money that they pay me as possible. So I know that's how I would want to. If I was paid someone to do something like this, it's not cheap. So. I'd like to thank you guys for subscribing. I know I hear it a lot when I watch other videos. I watch a lot of YouTube, so you know, I hear people say, "Oh, please like and subscribe, please," you know. But honestly, I really do appreciate it. I'm almost, as of this morning, I was about 10 subs short of having 1,000 subscribers, and that's kind of cool. I've only had the channel going for about 3 months, I think, and so that's kind of cool. So I'd like to just thank everybody for doing that. It's, you know, it's not that big of a deal to subscribe, but I tend to subscribe when I find a new channel, and, you know, I can just push the button, no big deal. But a lot of people like take it personally. They're like, "Oh, I don't subscribe to channels," but that's fine. For those of you that do, I appreciate it. And so does everyone else that makes YouTube videos. It just helps us out with the algorithm. When you're getting a lot of likes and comments are really big too. If you ever watch a YouTube video and you see the person making a video says, "Oh, you know, write down in the descriptions of, you know, what you think is next," or whatever. Well, they do that because when your video catches comments, it boosts the algorithm for it, and so it's just a little technique that the content creators do to try to get more publicity with the algorithm, I guess. Another one is retention. When people watch your videos for longer than 3 minutes, it seems like the average on my videos, even though they're mostly an hour long sometimes, most people only watch them for about 9 minutes. That's about the average. So, you know, and that's fine, whatever. But you know, you'll see them say, "Oh, wait till the end of the video for whatever." Well, that just kind of, you know, helps their algorithm out for retention wise and stuff. But, you know, it is what it is. 6-inch maple tree. It's about the max that I like to do with hardwoods. Usually, it seems like with the smaller machine that I got for the hardwoods, it usually takes about a minute per inch. It seems. You have to realize that this machine is a mulcher, not a chipper. The big difference. It will do it, but it will take forever if you're trying to get every log and piece of hardwood. And it would help too if I was on a flatter surface and the ground wasn't super soft like it is here. This ground is just about 6 or 8 inches of organics before you get to mud, and then there's mud underneath it, so it's kind of yeah, it is what it is. But the Kubota handles it pretty good. I imagine just about any skid steer with tracks would handle it pretty good, but I do appreciate the smaller tractor that I got. There's a lot of areas that I go into that if I had the bigger tractor, I'd have a lot more trouble negotiating them. Just getting around the bigger trees and stuff without hitting them. Back here in the back of the woods, it really doesn't matter if I hit a tree, you know, it's no big deal. But when I'm up on somebody's front yard and, you know, they don't want all their trees scarred up from being hit with a tractor, so it helps to have a smaller one. Shut up now and just grind away. So here's the path back here that I just did, and I'm at a point now where I need to get out of the tractor and try to figure out which way I could go without getting stuck, because I'm already on an incline here in this hill and the ground is really wet and really thick with vegetation. So there's a flag here. I just need to find out where the other flags are. I don't see any back here. Oh, there's a flag way on the other side of this pile. So I guess we're gonna blow through this, through this little mesh of fallen trees. Should be interesting. A little decline here, and it's not too bad, but it's so slippery. I'm just trying to really watch where I'm going. I really don't want to slide into a tree. It's always good to not be so reckless if you don't have to be. Or take any risks, unnecessary risks.